Hey there, Crochet Nation. It's your girl Tracy here, and I'm joining you today in sunny Northern California. We're having our fake spring, so I'm going to take advantage of the sun while I can before it gets windy again because, March winds, all that fun stuff. I'm here to talk to you today about how to do one of the really easy things that I've found to get organized, and that's to make yarn cakes. Yarn winders come in all shapes and sizes, from inexpensive to really expensive. I've had both. I've had super inexpensive ones that I've gotten off of like Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, etc. And I've had a more expensive one that I got from Knit Picks, which I absolutely love and which I'm going to use today to show you how to get a little more organized when it comes to your yarn stash. So let's get started. Like me, you probably have a lot of these lying around. Little half skeins, getting tangled up all over the place. And I want to be a little bit neater and more organized because, what's 2021 for rather than to get organized? We spent all of 2020 inside, so now it's organized time. So I did happen to keep the label off my yarn. It's my ombre yarn that I had, little half skein lying around. I will say that the yarn winder that I'm using today holds about 4, almost 5 ounces of yarn. So if you have one of the large ombre skeins, which is 7 ounces, you're going to want to split it into 2 cakes, not just one, because one cake will not fit on the yarn winder. And that's true for most standard yarn winders. So let's go ahead and get this going. What I did was I cut the middle part off of this big label. Cut the middle part off that has the name, Fuchsia, Jazzy, and I'm going to tape it to my yarn winder. So let me go ahead and pull it down here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so my yarn winder just clamps to the table really easily. I don't tighten it too tight because you do want to be able to untighten it and take it off when you need to. So you'll notice that it has the feeder here, right here for the yarn to go through, and the yarn winder itself, and then a crank handle. The key to a successful yarn cake is patience. I can't stress this enough. Patience may be a virtue, but it's not necessarily my virtue. So what I want to do first is take a little piece of yarn, or rather tape, and I'm going to tape this to the center. Now I'm making a center pull skein of cake of yarn, so I'm going to tape this around the middle of the spool just to itself so that it will come off later on when we're ready to uncake the yarn. We don't want to tape it to the plastic itself, which I kind of already did, so we're going to just pull that up a little and fix that. It doesn't really matter what this looks like, you just want to be able to say that I have my label. Okay, so now we're going to take the end of the yarn and see this little feeder right here? Get a little better look here for you. Don't look at my toes. Put your yarn, feed it through, and you'll see 2 little indentations in the top of your yarn winder. You're going to want to slap that down. And what you can do at this point, since we're keeping the center of our skein, is you can take a little piece of tape and tape it there if you want to, but you don't have to if you're going to take it from the outer edge. But since we're going to make this a center pull skein, I'm not going to tape it for today. So we're just going to slide that into the indentations like so. Give yourself about 4 inches, and then we're ready to start winding. Now you want to pay attention these first couple of rows that you do, because this is going to be really important. You're going to want to crank it slowly. Tug that to tighten it, because you want a nice, tight, firm center pull skein. You don't want one that's going to be pulled and loose and falling all over the place. So you're going to want to hold this pinch it between your thumb and forefinger and pull it nice and tight. Now crank slowly. Keep it nice and tight. And you'll see that the beginning of your yarn cake is starting really nicely. You want to try and hold your yarn parallel so that you don't end up with it down here or up here. I wasn't paying attention the other day and I realized that my yarn went flying off the handles, so that's why I'm cautioning you to do it slowly, slowly, slowly. And if you run into a little yarn barf, just kind of pull it out and keep on going. Now you see what happened is I let it drop and it came down to the bottom, so you want to kind of push that up a little. And we're going to continue on. Now, like I said, keep it nice and tight because you want a nice tight cake. You don't want one loose that's going to fall apart. Now, the reason I'm making so many cakes lately, not the kind you can eat, unfortunately I can't have cake anymore, is that I've taken up knitting, thank you TikTok, on knitting machines. Kind of part of the knitting machines group, and I love it. So much fun. And you'll see I've got a nice cake started here. So we're just going to keep on going. At this point, nice and tight. And if you just hold your thumb and finger right there by where you feed the yarn through, it makes a nice tight cake. And we're going to keep going. Now you'll notice that as I go, the skein's getting bigger and bigger, and I'm still going as slowly, smooth, and evenly as I can without trying to go too awfully fast, because if I go too awfully fast, believe me, this will go flying off here and it will make a big old mess. I've done it, don't do it. Another thing, if you notice, these are plastic machines, and every once in a while you're going to need to oil them. Use a little bit of Zoom Spout oil for your regular sewing machine oil is perfectly fine. Now I want to caution you that the bigger this gets, the slower you want to go. You don't want to go super fast. Not only is it going to fly off, but you'll notice that this is getting closer and closer to this yarn feeder right here. This is your gauge for when you need to stop. So the closer you get to the end, that's when you're going to want to stop. So, funny story about yarn. I love yarn a whole lot, and I started getting organized. And I thought, oh, I don't have that much yarn. Yeah, 7 totes of yarn later, I am no longer allowed to go to the craft store or a local yarn store or online anymore. That's an imposition I've placed upon myself until I get a little bit more organized and get some things made. I'm sure we've all been there. I can remember back in the day when I was like in my 20s and I only had like 5 skeins of yarn, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have so much. Yeah, little did I know that I was going to make a massive collection. Now you see our cake start to take shape, and it's nice, almost a round squarish shape. Really, really nice. And you'll notice that the Knit Picks is really, really smooth. I am not getting compensated by them at all. They just happen to be one of my favorite brands. So if you want to check them out, go to knitpicks.com. And I also have their Yarn Swift, which I absolutely have fallen in love with, for those hanks of yarn that you get from overseas or from your local alpaca dealer, whatever you're getting. And since I can no longer talk any of my family into sitting still and letting me roll yarn on their arms anymore, I got myself a Swift so I can do it myself. So I'm almost there. When it gets to the point where your cake is going to start hitting and bumping this, that's when you're going to want to stop. And when you do, you're ready to go ahead and undo it. But I'm almost there. You'll notice in the background I have a little Hassam Ramzi playing. He's my favorite Egyptian artist of all times. I like to belly dance on the weekends. And he is one of my favorite drummers and artists of all time. Rest in peace. Awesome guy. I also love the look of the caked yarns. When it comes to the gradient yarns, the ombre yarns, they look so neat when they're all done up and sitting all pretty. Now to keep these clean, you can put them into Ziploc bags. If you're not going to use them right away. Mine are going to get used so quickly on my knitting machines that they're not going to have time to get dirty. Or, you know, you can put them in totes. You can put them into those zip and seal bags that you can get from like the Dollar Tree, places like that. The vacuum seal kind work wonders. Now I'm starting to bump against my yarn guide. So that tells me that I am ready to fasten off. And I have just a tiny bit more, and I'm gonna play patient and not go faster, even though I really, really want to. But I'm almost to the end of my skein, and I know I can make it all fit. If I couldn't, I would stop, but I only have just a teeny tiny bit left to go. So I'm not going to play chicken with the yarn gods today. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little snip because it's starting to get nasty and tangled. So you're going to go ahead and remove your yarn from here. And now at this point, you just put your thumbs underneath, slide it off the center, and you've got yourself a nice yarn cake that you're ready to go ahead and use. Now this piece here, you don't want it to go ahead and get tangled or dropped, so I just drop it down here, tuck it once, tuck it twice, and you are ready to go. Thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Come and find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I'll see you later. Next up, you're going to want to watch this one. We're going to use our knitting machines today, ladies and gentlemen, and make some mug warmers. Super easy, fast, quick project for the beginner. See you there. Bye.